How's everyone doing? I am feeling a lot of emotions by all of the stories that were shared before me. Those were all incredible. So thank you to each and every one of you that's been on the stage so far, and I'm excited to hear what's to come. Yeah, I just want to try something with everyone here. So if you don't mind, I would like everyone to close their eyes for a second. And we're just going to take a couple of deep breaths in. So inhale through the nose. And exhale through your mouth. We're going to do that 2 more times. Just take another deep breath in through the nose. And exhale through the mouth. And 1 more time. And just let go of anything that you're feeling. Just relax your body. And just take a second and open your eyes. And just take a second to look around. So this is kind of what I do for a living now, and I'm going to share how I got here. Because up until 2016, I used to work in the corporate world in a sales role as a customer business development manager, and I had a huge burnout. And my burnout came from me looking around, and if I wrote it down on a piece of paper, I literally had anything that anyone could have wanted. I was at 28 at the time. I had a great job, a great salary. I had amazing coworkers and a great boss who really cared about me. And inside, I felt empty. I felt nothing. I would wake up in the morning and go to work and just ask myself, what am I doing with my life? And at the time, I used to sell meat. I used to work for Maple Leaf Foods. And I would look at everyone around me and how stressed out we would get about not selling 5% more meat than we were supposed to that day. And I would ask myself, is this really what I'm going to be doing for the next 20 years of my life? And it got to a point where I was praying for a layoff to come, because I didn't have the guts to actually just walk up and quit this job because it was so wonderful. And then I would ask my friends, is something wrong with me if I'm not appreciating everything in my reality right now? Because this is amazing and I should be happy with this, right? And of course my friends would say, yeah, you do have a great job. Why aren't you happy? And I said, I don't know. And I remember in 2015, it had gotten to a point where it was so bad and I needed an escape. One of my friends offered to go to Africa with me because I was really scared, but something just told me, okay, you know what, just go on this trip and it'll be amazing. And I was too scared to do it alone. So my friend said, you know what, I'll come with you. Let's do this. I know you really need this. Let's do this. And it was the best 3 weeks of my life. I never felt that free before, that happy, that content. And for weeks, we would be in a new destination. We would go on safaris. We were sitting at the edge of Victoria Falls, and we would be on a new flight every couple of days. And it woke me up, and I felt so alive for the first time and so happy. I told myself, you know what, I'm going to quit my job, and I'm going to do this for a bit, because all I need, if this is what's making me happy, hopefully if I do this, I'll figure it out. And I come back, and again, I couldn't quit my job. And so this cycle went on for a year and a half. And at this point, my performance was starting to drop. And my boss started noticing this. And he asked, what's going on? I'm just, and I'm like, I'm just really stressed out. And at this point, some of my coworkers who were also my friends had been laid off. That also didn't help. That made it worse, the feeling. And I talked to my boss and I told him, yeah, I'm going to work harder. I'll figure it out. I'll find a way around this. And he said, okay, look, I really care about you, but if things don't change, I will have to let you go. And I remember sitting in his office and tears just started rushing down my face. And it was honestly tears of relief. It was somebody finally giving me an out. And he looked at me and he got so concerned and he went, Farah, just take 2 days off. I'm so sorry. I don't mean to upset you. Just take some time off. And you know what? Start looking for another job, just so you're prepared. And when you come out of this, you'll be better off. So I left, and I remember sitting there at home, and I'm like, oh my God, this is what I want. But am I crazy to want this? And of course, when you have a pattern in your mind for so long, and you're so used to a certain way of living, at this point, having a 2-week paycheck coming in for 5 years now, it's kind of hard to let that go and just follow your heart and not know what is going to come of that. So I had 3 months to improve my performance, and I tried. And in the meantime, I took my boss's advice and I started applying for other jobs. And I remember as I was nearing the end of the 3 months, I'd gotten a job offer. And I remember saying a ridiculous number for the salary that I wanted, a vacation that I wanted, just so they would turn down the job, so I would finally have the courage to go on this trip. And of course, they actually gave me the job. And I remember sitting there and asking, kind of just looking up at the sky, and I'm like, God, like, you know I am scared to do this, and you're literally not making it easier. And thankfully, I have a very supportive family, and I remember going to my brother and saying to him, look, I feel like I should take this job. You know, it would be stupid, right? If it took a couple months off to travel. I mean, I know people struggle to find jobs. I should be happy with this. And he looked at me and he said, Farah, and then what? A year from now, and then what? If you do this, a year from now, you're going to be unhappy still. You're not going to be any better than you are right now. He said, give yourself 2 months. Take this trip. Just book a ticket. If you're not going to do it, I'm going to do it for you. But just take this trip and give yourself 2 months. So I left. I ended up taking 2 months, and I went to Europe, and it was incredible. And has anyone read of the book The Alchemist here? Yeah. So I kind of felt like the shepherd boy. I felt like I was on the hunt. And for people that haven't read it, it's about a shepherd boy who's on a search for his treasure, and along the way, he meets all these people. So I felt like I became the shepherd boy, and I was on the search for this treasure. And I remember this one experience I had. I met countless other women who were traveling alone, and I looked at them and I told them early on in my trip, I'm scared. I don't know if I can do this. And they said, don't worry, you'll be fine. Just take it a day at a time, stay in hostels, and you'll be good. So I did. I took their advice and I kept traveling. Near the end of the trip, I realized how much I'd grown. I was sitting in Lisbon at the top of a rooftop bar, and I had come up, 2 complete strangers had come up to me, and all 3 of us were just crying, sharing our story about how all of us had our dad that passed away. And I looked in awe at this connection that I made with 2 complete strangers who a couple of months ago I didn't even know, or even a couple of hours ago I didn't even know. And to talk about some of the most vulnerable things in such openness and love, and with so much love and compassion, I knew there was more to life at that point. So I came back to Canada, and literally the reasons why I kept coming back to Canada was because a lot of my friends were getting married at the time, and I promised them I would come back for their wedding. So I remember going to my friend's wedding and everyone asking me, okay, now what? So you did this, and now what are you gonna do? And I looked at them and I said, I have no clue. I can't go back to the corporate world, but I have no idea what I'm doing still. And I started reading, and I came across Tony Robbins' I'm Not Your Guru, this Netflix series. I'd come back from this incredible trip, but because I didn't know what was going on, I kind of fell into a downward spiral of kind of like I was in depression at the time. I would lay in bed, not happy, and I was thinking, how is it that I can go from such a high to such a low? And of course, it was because I wasn't aligned. I didn't know how to embrace the unknown at the time. I didn't know what it meant to embrace the unknown. When I came back from that trip, I decided, something in me told me, just go to Asia. I didn't know why, I just felt to go there. And I remember going to my mom and telling her, I'm so scared of doing this, but I feel like I need to do this. And being the supportive mom that she is, she said, okay, why don't you start in Bali? She's like, I feel like you'll be more comfortable there, and then you can take it from there. So I ended up going to Bali. And again, I started having these encounters with people. And I felt like I was getting closer and closer. What started off as what was supposed to be a 2-month trip on a one-way ticket turned into an 8-month trip traveling through Asia. And in the process, I discovered meditation. I went to something called a 10-day silent meditation of Vipassana. And for 10 days, you are told to not talk to anyone, meditate for 12 hours a day, and in the process, they take all your technology away while you give it away, and you're just supposed to do that. I discovered so much about myself in the process, and I finally understood the relationship with the mind and the body. And I've learned some lessons through all of these trips that I often share, and one of them is follow your heart, whatever that looks like today. If that means somebody's been on your mind and you've been thinking about calling them, call them. If it means there's a trip that you've always wanted to take, take it. If you just want to take a day off in the middle of the week, do it. Life is about now and what we do now. It's not what we do 10 years from now. And forget what happened 10 years ago. That's not a part of you anymore. So focus on what is there in front of you now. And if you can do it, do it. For 2 years, I didn't have a paycheck coming in. I was traveling with a backpack. And I've never felt more free and more happy just from doing that than my whole career. And I learned more in the process than I had in my entire life. So if something really scares you, just go for it. Just trust that you'll be taken care of in whatever capacity that looks like. You will get there. The other lesson I learned is there's no such things as coincidences in our life. Everything happens for a reason. And if you're truly open, and Francesca mentioned this earlier, everything is a mirror for us to look into ourselves. If your life is feeling more chaotic on the outside today, it's just a reminder to go inwards. Sit in silence, sit in stillness. That's where all the answers lie. So go inwards. If you're feeling like everything is chaotic on the outside, it's just telling you to slow down. The third thing I learned was fear is just something we create in our mind. There's actually a choice we have in every moment. We can choose love or we can choose fear. If you choose fear and give in to your mind and what it's telling you, we get stuck. We feel like we can't move forward. But if you choose love, there's so much out there waiting for you. So these are some lessons that I leave you with. And yeah, I want you to all to do something in this week that's something out of your comfort zone and that will really just make you feel alive. Thank you so much.